What's up? I'm about to get hit by a car. How y'all doing today? It's actually nice and it's a little bit warm and it's sunny for now. Steve, how you doing? I'm doing okay. Just, same old thing. Running from the law. Walking from the law. It's March 26th, 2021. So you know what that means. Another day, another story. But before I get to that, remember as always to like, share, subscribe, hit up my Patreon, all those little things to help my little channel grow. The link to my Patreon is in the description below, as well as the links to my Facebook and Instagram pages closely related to the content that I am producing right here. And that said, let's go back a good many years. So today's story I know took place out of Salem, even without having to see that explicitly put into the article. And the reason I know that is because the site of the story I'm about to bring to you occurred at a confectionery. Is that how you say it? Confectionery company? It was a candy company. It's I don't know. Anyway, it was a candy business. And it was located at Commercial and Chemeketa. And I already know just based on that this was Salem, Oregon, because I already knew Commercial is a fairly busy street in the Salem area, and there's a Chemeketa Community College in Salem. So put those two together, Chemeketa, the street had to have been in Salem. So this took place in Salem. This is the classic story. Jumping to conclusions, seeing something and immediately reacting before knowing what's actually going on around you. So it's nighttime and the the candy place is closed for the day, and somebody notices a couple of kind of grungy, grimy fellows walking out of that business, and they've got like cases with them. That seems to really be all that was going on. Was some grimy guys walked out of this place after hours and they had some cases with them. So whoever saw this, they saw that and I don't know, the guys apparently were a little dirty looking, so probably they just thought, oh no, they're dirty, they must be dirty, rotten thieves. So someone starts screaming, "Stop, thief!" Because that's apparently what everybody would say back in the good old days. At least that's the stigma. And, is anybody in need of a new armoire with all the glass broken out of it? No thief's gonna take that. But yeah, someone starts screaming, "Stop, thief!" like in the old movies. And so the police are alerted. The police are like, oh crap, they leap out of their seats, they storm to the scene. What is happening? Who would rob a candy company? What kind of fiends are we dealing with? The police arrive on the scene. There's a lot of discarded goods on this stretch. And they nab these kind of dirty guys that were seen walking out of, they weren't even like running out of the building. They were just walking out of the building casually. They get tracked down. The police check them out, look them over like, "What are you doing here, son?" And they discover that these men walking out of the building, the article said that they were minors. So I guess they were like minors by trade, not like underage people, like minors, like they worked in mines. That's always something you got to stipulate which minor you're talking about. And they'd been hired to do some work on the interiors of the place that they walked out of. The cases they were carrying were just like their toolboxes. So it does beg the question of, if you see something suspicious, how far do you go with it? Obviously, this story is from many, many years back, but the question kind of still has validity. I'll still, when it comes to people misjudging a situation, like I used to read the police logs that would be published in like local newspapers all the time. They always interested me a lot, just to see what kind of trouble people were getting themselves into. And I remember one particular one, I probably read it when I was like 15, and it stood out to me years later. But I feel like it correlates with the story very well in terms of seeing something and not taking a moment to be like, okay, wait, what is really possibly happening here? Instead of just, screaming for the police. So this woman shows up at her apartment down in Milwaukee, where I used to live, a little south of Portland. And she calls the police. She's like, I'm trying to get into my apartment and there's somebody else in there. And I'm trying to force my way in and they won't let me in. Somebody's broken into my apartment. Help me, help me, help me. The police arrive on the scene. And when the whole situation is sorted out, they realize the woman went to the wrong apartment. So what she thought was some criminal had broken into her apartment and was probably stealing stuff and trying to keep her from getting in. It was really probably someone scared out of their minds that some crazy woman was trying to break into their apartment. So they were keeping the door shut because there's a lunatic woman out there. It just, it forces you to consider the question of, how suspicious does something have to get for you to just be kind of like, that's a little red flaggish? Or to get you to say, hey, I need to call the police right now. Like, this is very bizarre. It's a bunch of discarded trash with a bunch of shrubbery placed on it. And I'll admit, this is not a unique situation. I mean, how many people have seen on a daily basis, how many people see something, don't quite know what it is? And there's a lot of people that are busybodies that got to stick their noses into stuff, and any little thing will make them think, oh, time to call the cops. Any given police force, especially in a major city, it's going to get a ceaseless number of calls like that a day. But there's varying degrees of misunderstandings, and people who have contacted the police for something that really in the end was a misunderstanding, or something that really just wasn't worth the police officer's time. Like, McDonald's ran out of their chicken McNuggets, so I'm going to lose my mind and call the cops. That has happened, among many other obscene reasons used to contact local authority figures. But again, there are varying degrees of misunderstandings. There's a big difference between seeing some people leaving a building after hours at night looking a little dirty with, cases. What's in those cases? What kind of vehicle? Oh, that's a big one. You're a big fella. It's the Portland Water Bureau. Anyway, oh yeah, they're doing some work over here. Yeah. Sorry, I'm having to get through the chaos. The weather gets a little nice in the Portland area and the construction workers lose their minds. By the way, I saw my first, granted it's not actually March 26th today. It's actually about 2 weeks earlier, because obviously I'm recording a lot of these in advance, but saw my first bumblebee yesterday. Anyway, as I was saying, so, there's a vast difference between seeing what these people saw outside of this candy company and then, seeing somebody walking down the street who maybe doesn't look like they have a lot of money, but they have like an expensive looking ring on their finger. Like, that might be cause for suspicion, but are you really going to call the police unless it's like, that ring's got to be, 6 figures, and this guy looks like he hasn't had a home in 2 years? Maybe, but there are those varying degrees. So how far does one go? How far does one have to be pushed to contact the authorities? Because again, cases like this were not all that rare, and aren't all that rare. But a case of this, misunderstandings, misunderstandings are a big chunk of what this channel was, made for, in terms of, I gotta run across the street so I don't get hit by a car. So, a story especially of this type, the classic, oh my God, there can't be anything right about this, and then you realize, oh no, you were completely wrong. Sorry. You You can't make a channel like this that prides itself on weird, random, bizarre, kooky stories and not cover at least a few that are kind of like that. So I saw that and I was like, gotta sneak at least one of those in here. So all that said, thank you so much for watching. And as always, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit up my Patreon, all those little things to help my little channel grow. The link to my Patreon is in the description below, as well as the links to my Instagram and Facebook pages, where I post content closely related to what I'm doing here, as well as my other primary channel, Steve the Amateur Historian. And all that said, thank you once more for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.